This is Chop to the Top, the series where I'm trading my way up from a cheap car to a supercar. At the start of the last episode, you saw me starting with a budget of over £30,000, and I went a little bit left field, and I bought a Rover 75 V6. Now, I said at the end of that episode it had already sold, but as always, for the start of this episode, let's go through all the costs on that car and discuss how much money I've got moving into this episode. So, the Rover itself cost me £2,089.92. Delivery fees for the car was £60. The fuel I put into it, £50.02. The MOT test fee was £45. The timing belt job, that was a big one, £627.62. Trim clips, £3.79, and advertising costs were £9. And that means in total, I spent £795.43 on the Rover. Combining that with the purchase price, that means the Rover totally owed me £2,885.35. Now, I said at the end of the last episode the Rover had already sold, and I sold it for £3,250. So that figure, plus the remaining unspent budget of £27,767.59, means that in total I'm moving into today's episode with a budget of £31,017.59. Now, if you've been watching the channel recently, you'll be aware that from that huge budget of over £31,000, I went out and I bought something I've always wanted to get my hands on, a Bentley GT. Now, the Bentley will be for sale eventually, but not right now. So I've also been out and bought something else to keep this series going, and that is what we're going to be focusing on today, the other car that I've bought. So let's go and check it out. I'll show you what it needs and we'll crack on with some work. So you know how it is, I like to bring things a little bit different to the channel and show you something that you may not see every day. And here is what we've got now. A 1998 SF5 Subaru Forester. Okay, so this car is 26 years old, and let me show you around it. It is in fantastic condition for a car of the age. It is completely original, unmodified, even down to the original Subaru steel wheels, and that is what really attracted me to this car, its originality. What's more impressive about this car is not only is it so straight for the age, it's only done 52,000 miles in the 26 years it has been in existence, which is absolutely remarkable. Now, you know I'm a big fan of Subarus anyway. You may remember, if you've been a fan of the channel for a long time, my SF5 STI Forester that I had a few years ago. Same generation as this, but that STI was a facelift. This is a pre-facelift car, although it is still classed as an SF5. This car has the EJ20 in it, the same engine I have in my Subaru Impreza WRX. But this one is not turbocharged. This is more of your everyday vehicle. Now, another reason that I thought this would be a good car to buy for this series is because where I live in the countryside, four-wheel drives are very, very popular. I say that all the time. This is kind of halfway between a car and a four-wheel drive truck. You know, it's an estate car with four-wheel drive. It's got high and low ranges, and what's more is it will suit someone who can't necessarily afford a Defender or something like that. You know, someone who just wants a second car that they can go and look to their animals or get to a house up a little lane. This will be the perfect thing. Now, this won't be a hugely expensive car, but it will be a nice, reliable, usable piece for the countryside. Continuing the theme of originality, let me take you inside and show you this. It is absolutely wonderful in here. How 90s is that interior? Look at the pattern on these seats. Now, talking of seats, look how clean the bolsters are in this car. Not torn, not damaged, not crushed, not even stained. This car has had a really, really gentle life, I think. As I said, 52,000 miles from new, all original, including the stereo. Yes, the mats are a little bit dirty. I haven't done any prep on this car yet. This is as it's arrived to me. This has got full service history, and it's not long had a cam belt. So in actual fact, this car is pretty much ready to go. All I need to do is go through it and just double check everything's as good as it can be. Check the underside is totally solid. I'll put a fresh MOT on it as well, so the new owner has absolutely nothing to worry about, and just be as sure as I can that it's as right as it possibly can be. So what I'm hoping for here, guys, is a very, very quick turnaround. We'll make this look as good as possible, which in fairness shouldn't come to more than about a decent cleanup and a polish. I'm thinking, looking at it, it's such a straight, nice car. There's not even any paint work for me to do. So a really good clean inside and out, make it smell fresh, make it look fresh, fresh ticket on it, hopefully with no advisories. If it does come out of any advisories, I'll of course sort those out, because as I said just now, I want this to be as usable and ready to go for the new owner as possible. A couple of other nice features. We've got a very, very sturdy looking roof rack already in place. In addition to that, we've got a proper tow bar. This is a pin hitch style tow bar. Now, I did think I was possibly going to change this for a ball type tow ball. I think I may still, because that's a little bit specialist, but the point is, tow bar is in place, electrics are in place. All I need to do is change the hitch mechanism to make it a little bit more mass appeal. But that is ready to go. As I say, this is a permanent four-wheel drive car with high and low ranges. Now, winter is around the corner. Winter's always around the corner in England. This thing will be absolutely perfect for someone. So I'm looking forward to getting started on this one. I hope you guys are looking forward to seeing something a little bit different getting worked on. And I'm really hoping, given how popular these things used to be around here, not that I see them very much anymore, but given how popular these things used to be, I'm kind of hoping this one will sell really quickly. Anyway, let's waffle, let's crack on and get the job done. Okay, so the Forester is in and on the ramps. Let's start by taking a look at the underside of this car. Now, on first inspection, I've got to say, I'm incredibly impressed. This is a 26-year-old Subaru, and look at the quality of these inner sills. Not only are they not rusty, they've never been repaired. They're completely original. And that is something that I wasn't expecting to see. I was almost certain I was going to run into some sort of welding work required, which wouldn't have been a problem. I would have been up for it. Because, as I said before, this car is so clean and original, I'll give it whatever it needs. But the fact that it's as straight and as tidy under here as it is, I'm so pleased. Now, obviously there are a few areas with surface corrosion. Look at this rear diff, things with light surface corrosion on them. Parts of the drivetrain, that's to be expected, it really is. The worst thing I can find is the heat shield of the back box has started to perforate, but the exhaust doesn't blow. It really is just the heat shield on here. So I'll see if I can source a new back box for this. Everything else I think is really just going to be a brush up, a clean up, and make sure it is as solid looking as it seems to be. I'll continue to poke around, but really I don't think I'm going to need to do anything under there, which is an absolute boon. So really it comes back to what I said before. This looks more and more like it's going to be a clean up and sell job. Now at the moment this car has got MOT for another 5 months, which is fairly chunky. Most people would sell this car with that remaining MOT, but me, as always, you know how it is, I like to put a fresh MOT on things so that the new buyer has got the minimal amount of money to spend in the near future. So I will of course put a new MOT on this, but clearly before I was going to put it in for a test, I was going to check everything, but really pleased. So I'm going to just continue to poke around under here, clean a few bits up. If I can source a rear exhaust, a back box for this, you'll see me fit that. If not, it's not the end of the world. As I say, it's not blowing, but really I'm going to look around off camera to make sure that there definitely is nothing. The next thing you're going to see from me is this thing back on the ground, where I start the proper cleanup, the detail, making it look as fresh as possible. Okay, so I didn't realise my camera was still in time lapse. I tried to explain what I was doing before I set about doing it, but basically what I've done is brushed the whole bottom of the car back with a drill brush just in a dry state, blew it off an airline, and now I've sprayed a degreaser on the bottom of the car. Now, as I said in that clip, which didn't come out, in a perfect world I'd jet wash this on a ramp outdoors. I don't have an outdoor ramp, I've only got my indoor one, so I can't jet wash it. The perfect solution would be to dry ice blast it. Now, I don't have a dry ice blaster, obviously, because they're very expensive, maybe one day, but not right now. So at the moment, we stick to the old-fashioned ways. This is a degreasing agent I've sprayed on the underside. Now, this is something I make up myself. Because I'm indoors, I've had to sort of make it quite a high cling formula. Yes, there's a little bit dripping on the floor. It's not ideal, but it's not as messy as sort of jet washing would be. So what I need to do now is let this dwell on the underside of the car for as long as I can, really, to break up any sort of grease and dirt and things like that on the underside. Then I'll go over it again with the drill brush, cleaning it up as best as I can, and then eventually when that's done, I'll take it outside and I'll put it on some ramps and just blast the hose under it just to loosen everything off and get rid of it once and for all. Okay, that'll do for now. It's neutralised all the degreaser. As I said, this has got to stay up here for a minute because I've got an exhaust coming shortly. I'm going to fit that first, and we'll get it on the ground, get it outside, and then I'll blast the underside fully. But at the moment, it's great. I'm seeing all the original Subaru marks for the original parts. This thing really is in lovely condition. I'm very impressed with it. Okay, so everything's dried off a little bit under the Forester, but this has arrived, which is the important bit. So what I can do now is whip off that old crusty exhaust at the back here and chuck on the new one. So I'm going to do that in time lapse so as not to bore you. Get that one out, and then I'll chuck the thing outside, and then we'll get it on some ramps, blast off the last of the loose dirt and things that's still on the underside, and then I'll call that the underside job's completely done. So the Forester is now back from MOT, and not only did it pass with no advisories, so it's a complete clean sheet, which is exactly what we want to see. So the next thing I'm going to do is get on with the interior of this car. It's absolutely fine, it just needs a bit of a spruce up, so I'm going to get on with that. Then I'll do the bits on the exterior of the car, the polish, etc., to make it look as good as possible. So let's crack on. So this Forester continues to impress me. As always, I'm taking everything out to clean it properly, but also, you know, I like to take things in the boot out to make sure everything's solid and there's no damage or rust, things like that. Anyway, I'm going to remind you, this is a 1998 car. Look how solid everything is, totally rust-free. It's just absolutely remarkable. And obviously I still need to clean that. I've just given it a dry hoover at the moment. I'm going to give it a proper clean, dry it down, clean everything and put that back in. But I just wanted to show you at this stage how good this car really is. The DNA, the bones of it are just really, really good. Very, very pleased. And obviously I'm working from the boot forward. I'm going to do all the interior to the same level, make sure everything's absolutely as clean as can be. And I'll try and show you some of that along the way, but I know it's boring, so I'll time lapse some of it and show you bits and pieces as I go, like this. So for those of you worried that I don't play with Jake enough, I do. I chuck his ball absolutely all the time. It just doesn't always show up there on camera. Also, this boy gets treated to bits of steak while he's at work. So just so you know, Jake is getting paid, but not in money, with steak. Ready? Good boy. Is that good? Yeah, straight back to playing with his ball now. Right, we're back in the workshop. The interior clean of the Forester has now been done. Everything is looking great and smelling fantastic in here. I've steamed through all the vents, all that sort of stuff. It's really as nice as it can be. I've also cleaned the outside of the car, just giving it a clean down, make sure all the grime and grot is off there. All little things like inside the filler cap and all that, which was pretty grotty, all now perfect. So what I need to do is dry this car thoroughly, and then I'm going to give it a polish because I really want this to pop. As I said before, this is such a clean, original, nice car. I want it to look as good as it truly can. So the Forester is now finished and it has come up so well. It is astounding. Now I knew it was going to come up well because it was such a straight original car, but I didn't think for a minute it'd be this good. I think I'm going to go as far to say I think this is probably the best example of its kind for sale in the UK right now. And I'll probably be brave enough to put that in the advert because I just don't think you're going to find another one the same age with as lower mileage in as straight and rust-free condition as this one. So I'm feeling good about this one. Something did change, however. I did say in the early shots that I don't need to do the cam belt or a service because it's got a recent service on it, including a cam belt. Well, I've done a bit more research on that service history, and it turns out the belt on this isn't quite as recent as I thought. Now, I've had a chat with my parts supplier locally, and he said getting a belt kit for these cars isn't actually that straightforward these days. He has managed to find me one. So we ordered that in, and I have actually gone ahead and had the cam belt kit done on this car because, once again, I really don't want to be selling something to someone who will then have to spend money in the near future. So I thought, let's just err on the side of caution, get the cam belt kit done and put a fresh oil and filter service on it at the same time. So that's also been done. Yes, it's added to the costs, but it has made the car that much better. And when a car is this straight and original, it deserves to be as good as possible. Now, I'll show you around the car now because, as I said just then, I don't think you're going to find a better one. So I'll talk you through the car, all the bits that have been done, and then at the beginning of next episode, I'll be able to reveal what everything's cost me once this one has sold. But I don't think it's going to take that long to sell. I mean, look at it. Okay, so let's have a look around the Forester. Obviously, we'll start with the outside. I have refreshed all the plastic bumpers. There's a lot of plastic on the outside of this car and it was all fine. It was just a little bit dried, a little bit whitened off. So I've used a specialist plastic treatment to bring that back as good as possible. Now all 4 tyres, they're Bridgestone Jewelers. They're all in fine condition, so all I had to do there is clean them up and gloss them up. They look fantastic. The outside of the car has had a machine polish. I didn't film that because you've seen me do it so many times, it's probably quite a boring thing to watch for the 100th time in a row. But the car has benefited massively. Now a solid white car like this, sometimes you'd think, is it going to make that much difference? But in this case, I think it really has. It's hard to show on a video like this, but it's so glossy and rich. It just looks like a car a third of the age that this one actually is. Now the wheel arches, gave all those a proper clean up. You could argue they could have been re-stone chipped, but I sometimes feel that doing that can look a little bit false. It looks like you're trying to hide something, maybe some repairs. Now these are totally original, unwelded, and I wanted to keep it as original as possible. So I've cleaned everything off so that any potential buyers can see exactly what they're buying. If they then want to go ahead and put stone chip on there, that's up to them, entirely up to them. But for me, selling a car, I want to show how original and how straight a car truly is. That's why I've left them just cleaned and not recoated. The underside is exactly the same. You saw me clean that off. It's completely dye straight under there. No issues, no welding, perfect. To make it look brand new, yes, you could re-chip it, but once again, I don't want to make things look fake. So moving around again, totally straight. Now I did talk about how the interior in the back here was so good. Everything has now been completely cleaned. All the bits and pieces have been out. The car's been thoroughly cleaned throughout. Everything is as good as it can possibly be, including the spare having a clean and the spare tyre being glossed up the same, just so everything looks perfect. I'll show you inside the main cabin of the car as well. Before there wasn't anything to do, the same remained. I wanted to make it smell a bit nicer, so I've steamed all the vents, cleaned all the plastic, all the mats have been out and cleaned, all the carpets thoroughly cleaned. Everything in here, although this car is now 26 years old, it just looks and feels like a fresh young car. I'm absolutely in love with this thing. So moving under the bonnet, as I said, I have gone ahead and had a new service and cam belt put on this thing, but other than that, it was just a really good cleanup. I mean, look at the quality of the inner wings, the bulkhead, no rust to speak of, absolutely no faults. It is beautiful. That's a completely freshly serviced engine with 52,000 miles on it. That'll do another 52,000 standing on its head, I believe. So there we have it. The Forester is now finished and this car is available for sale right now. So if you think you fancy this beautiful example, get in touch with me. My details are on screen now. And as always, nationwide delivery is available on this one. Anyway, that will do it for today's episode. As I said, all the costs of this car will be revealed at the start of the next episode. So as always, thank you ever so much for watching, and I will of course catch you on the next one. Cheers.